Light a deep. Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. The rain fell relentlessly that evening, as if the sky itself was mourning what had just been revealed. Tu Diep stood frozen, her heart shattered by the weight of a secret that had been buried for years. A truth about her family that tore through everything she thought she knew. Moments later, her body gave in. She collapsed in the pouring rain, her breath barely audible, her eyes filled with confusion and heartbreak. James rushed to her side, his heart racing, his voice shaking as he called her name again and again. But when her eyes slowly fluttered open, there was no recognition, no warmth, no memory. She looked at him as if he were a stranger. Tu Diep, it's me, James, he whispered, kneeling beside her, drenched and trembling. But she only stared, her silence sharper than any words. James's world crumbled in that instant. The woman he had loved, protected, and rebuilt his life with now couldn't even remember his face. Had the accident stolen her memories along with her trust? Or was this the price of uncovering a past so painful it erased the present? The storm outside was nothing compared to the one now raging within him. The rain had never fallen this hard in years. It roared like an angry beast, flooding the streets, soaking every corner of the village, and blurring the line between earth and sky. Under that merciless downpour, a girl stood still, trembling not because of the cold but because her entire world had just shattered. That girl was Tu Diep. She had always believed her parents were gone. The pain of abandonment had long settled deep in her heart, and every night, her dreams echoed with desperate cries, "Don't leave me, not again." But nothing prepared her for the truth she uncovered that day.
Earlier that morning, Diep had climbed the narrow hill to visit Mr. King, an old family acquaintance who had recently moved back to the village. Something in her heart told her he was hiding something. She confronted him, gently at first, but as his eyes avoided hers, her questions became demands. "Tell me the truth. Are my parents still alive?" At first, he lied. "They died long ago, Diep. I swear it." But his trembling hands and shifting gaze gave him away.
Just as she was about to leave, broken and confused, he stopped her. With a heavy sigh, he whispered the words that collapsed her world. "Your parents are alive, but they chose to leave you. They abandoned you because you weren't part of their plans." She felt her knees weaken, her breath caught. The storm outside mirrored the chaos within her. Her legs gave way, and darkness swallowed her whole. When James received the call, he was already on his way to meet her. Something in his heart had felt off since the morning. Now, hearing that Diep had fainted in the middle of the road, he slammed the brakes and rushed toward the clinic she had been taken to. Seeing her lying unconscious, pale and drenched in rainwater, James's heart twisted. Why didn't I stop her? I knew she wasn't ready for the truth. Damn it, Diep. He sat by her side for hours, not moving, not speaking, just listening to the slow rhythm of the drip, praying she would wake up. And finally, she did. "Diep," he whispered. But when her eyes opened, there was only confusion. She blinked at him, then frowned. "Who are you?" James froze. "It's me, James. Don't you remember me?" She looked at him like a stranger. No spark of recognition, no warmth, only fear. Something inside him broke. Had she truly forgotten him? Days passed, but her memory didn't return. The doctors suspected trauma. It's possible the emotional shock triggered temporary amnesia, they said. But James couldn't bear the possibility that the girl who once smiled so brightly at him now saw him as no one. He tried to stay strong. He brought her flowers, told her stories about their past, and even brought her favorite kind of rice cake. She smiled politely, but nothing more. The connection they once shared now felt like a distant dream. Still, he refused to give up. He remembered her words before she fainted. Maybe it's better to believe my parents were gone than to know they never wanted me. James finally understood. The loss of family wasn't what hurt her most, it was the betrayal. The cruel realization that the people who brought her into the world had chosen to live without her. That truth broke her. He stood outside the clinic one night, drenched in the same kind of rain that had brought everything to light. His fists clenched. "If I have to wait a lifetime for her to remember me, I will," he whispered to the storm. Inside, Deep sat quietly by the window, watching the rain fall. She couldn't explain it, but whenever she saw that man James, her heart ached with a strange longing. She didn't know why. She didn't know him, and yet it felt like she had known him all her life. And perhaps, deep within the shadows of her fractured memories, she still did. Days turned into weeks. Tu Diep remained at the quiet countryside clinic, her memories buried somewhere too deep for her to reach. The doctors tried therapy. James tried patience. Nothing worked. The only thing that changed was the distance in her eyes, a silent wall that James could not climb. Still, every morning, he returned. He brought her books she once loved. He placed fresh flowers on the table, the kind she used to collect in the garden behind his house. He played the old songs she once hummed while cooking, but she only offered a gentle smile, as if she was thanking a kind stranger. It tore him apart. One rainy afternoon, James sat beside her with a worn photo album. These are pieces of us," he said softly. "This was the day we harvested eggplants, and you yelled at me for stepping on your cucumbers." He chuckled, trying to lighten the air. Tu Diep looked down at the photos. She touched one with trembling fingers. "That's me," she whispered. James nodded. His heart leapt. She traced the photo again, but then shook her head. "It feels like someone else's life." James swallowed hard. "Maybe. But I was there too, and I remember all of it. Every word, every smile, every time you tried to walk away and I held you back." He reached for her hand. "Please, let me stay." She looked at him, her eyes filled with something unspoken. Regret, confusion, a quiet longing. That night, James sat by her bed while she slept. He stared at the raindrops racing down the window, and then his phone buzzed. It was Tune, his assistant. "James, we've located them." James's voice dropped. "Who, her parents?" "We found out where they've been living." James stepped outside, careful not to wake her. "Are you sure? We have documents, photos, neighbors who recognized them. They've been living abroad for years." And Tune hesitated. "They remarried, started a new life, changed their names." James felt his chest tighten. "Should I tell her?" Tune asked. James looked back at the quiet room. "No, not yet. Because what if she remembered because of them? What if that pain was the key? Would she hate him for hiding it? Would it be crueler to protect her from the truth?" But fate didn't wait. 2 days later, a man and a woman appeared at the clinic, middle-aged, well-dressed, nervous. James's heart dropped when he saw them. "Are you Tu Diep's parents?" he asked. The man hesitated. "We were. A long time ago." James stared at them, fury and disbelief crashing through him like a wave. "Then why are you here now?" "We heard she fainted. That she's sick." The woman's voice cracked. We didn't know she was still alive." "Don't lie to me," James snapped. "She waited for you for 25 years. The woman looked down, ashamed. Just then, Deep stepped out of the room. Her eyes met theirs. For a moment, time froze. Then she whispered, "I know you." The memories hit her like lightning. The cold night she was left at the temple gates, the whispers behind the wooden door, her small hands banging on the door, begging not to be left behind. She collapsed. James caught her before she hit the ground. The clinic buzzed with urgency. Doctors rushed, needles, IVs, oxygen. James sat outside, his hands shaking. Why? Why had they come now? Why not earlier when she was a child crying herself to sleep, not understanding what she did wrong in our past? Then a nurse came out. She's stable. James ran in. Tu Diep lay awake, her eyes staring at the ceiling. You remember, James whispered. She turned to him slowly. Her voice was hoarse, everything. Tears rolled down her face. And then, in a voice barely audible, "Why did they leave me, James?" James sat beside her, took her hand, and said the only truth he knew. "I don't know, but I swear to you, I never will." For the first time in weeks, she didn't pull away. She let herself cry, leaning on his shoulder, and he held her, knowing he couldn't erase her past, but he could be her future. Even if she had lost everything, he would help her build it back, together. A lesson from the storm, the strength of love and the weight of abandonment. Life is often compared to the weather, sometimes bright and warm, sometimes cold and unforgiving. In the story of Tu Diep and James, the heavy rain was more than a backdrop. It was a symbol of the emotional storm that comes with betrayal, loss, and forgotten love. But within that storm, we find a lesson about human resilience, forgiveness, and the healing power of unwavering care. Tu Diep's life was shaped by a wound that never fully healed, the abandonment by her parents. She grew up without answers, without warmth, and with a constant feeling of being unwanted. For many people, this would lead to a life of bitterness or isolation. But Diep chose to move forward, even while carrying that pain quietly in her heart. Her strength was not in forgetting the past, but in continuing to live despite it. When she finally learned the truth that her parents had deliberately left her and built a new life without her, it was a blow too heavy to bear. Her body gave out, and her memory faded, as if her mind was trying to protect her from the unbearable. But the story does not end in despair. Here, the character of James teaches us another important lesson. He reminds us that love is not always about grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes, love is about presence, about being there when the other person is breaking, about holding their hand when they no longer recognize who you are. James did not try to fix Diep with empty promises. He simply stayed with patience, compassion, and loyalty. In a world that often moves too fast, where people come and go easily, James's choice to stay is powerful. His love was not shaken by her forgetting him. Instead, it became stronger, more selfless. Through his steady presence, Diep slowly found the strength to face the truth and begin healing, not by erasing her past, but by accepting it and allowing someone new to stay beside her. The most painful wounds are often the ones we cannot see: memories, betrayals, the feeling of being unloved. But stories like Diep's show us that healing is possible, even when scars remain. It takes time, honesty, and the courage to let others in. So what is the lesson? Sometimes we cannot choose how we are broken, but we can choose who stands with us while we rebuild. And sometimes the person who stays quietly, patiently, without asking for anything in return is the one who saves us. Let the rain fall. Let the past hurt, but do not walk alone. There is strength in letting someone stay.